Open.
Amazing. Oh, it's streaming to yours. Yay. Hello. Hi, everybody.
Good
Welcome.
morning.
I was getting a bit excited before. I was like, yay. Excited about this stream. How are you, Flea, this morning?
I'm feeling good, but I know that the energy in the last week has been off the charts. I have been suffering with headaches, neck ache, neck problems, throat problems, sniffly, which is all something that is very much in alignment with the conjunction that is happening this week and a lot of the issues that are needing to be brought up. So that lovely shadow side is here for its last round of final, like, let's get those last little tidbits so we can move forward on the next path. Not to say all our shadows are going, but it's the last bits of this particular lesson and this particular path, and I'm really feeling that collectively coming through. Yesterday was extremely emotional, all day just chunking, almost like, oh, I can't say the word, but it's almost consuming, like sadness, but not sadness. It's like this deep grief that I feel that humanity is experiencing. It's like, what
Mm,
is wrong with this world? And so many people I know and I speak to are just like, I don't know how to live in this situation. How am I meant to find my joy when everything is so dark? Like, money is a problem for pretty much everyone. The cost of living is ridiculous. Our food is poisonous. Our governments are corrupt. We're seeing things left, right, and center. And what are we meant to do about it?
yeah,
Mm,
interesting. And the cards you pulled earlier was polarities, and I've just come out of another amazing conversation about looking at these shadows, but then also being on the precipice for greatness. And
mm,
for those that are joining us now, welcome to Awæcnian Academy's Age of Awæcnian. And so, what Flea and I love talking into is looking at mind, body, spirit, the shifts in the collective, in our internal worlds. And, Flea was sharing about these shadow pieces. And I know even in my own, week this week, feeling the heaviness
mm,
and what is burdens and responsibilities versus what is mission and purpose and the directive that is being divinely guided, and balancing these polarities of self, of existence. And I was just in a beautiful, another beautiful group earlier about with all these women gathered together, and we were talking about up leveling and noticing
mm,
the self sabotage, noticing the shadow parts of ourselves where we're in this a beautiful woman mentioned the butterfly metaphor with the caterpillar,
mm,
the cocooning and the chrysalis, and then emerging into the butterfly. And as you mentioned, Flea, this collective feeling like we're in the mush.
mm,
We're in this transformative phase. Like we've been the caterpillars easing along the road and nourishing ourselves, eating the things. And like I feel like
mm,
our lives and also humanity and the collective is in this massive beautiful, messy, mushy, gooey catalyst, like that gluggy feeling that you're feeling. And
yeah.
like this idea that in that metamorphosis stage, like when the caterpillar is transforming, there's no
Mm,
turning back. Like they legit liquefy and turn into mush to
mm,
fully transform and reform. And so it's like those pieces that you were sharing of like this heaviness, even our own internal relationship with self and others, the big pieces of what we're dealing with
mm,
finances, like we're in that liquefying stage, which is messy and yuck, but also beautiful in the other side of the things, because we're
mm,
in this phase that we're about to be emerging into these beautiful butterflies with wings and the angelic wings, and just rising into that divine self.
mm,
And there are people that are already being our beautiful butterflies and guides, and you know, and we're in these beautiful transitions of noticing, but it's also freaking hard.
mm.
Well,
Yeah. It is, and I like how I just saw the wings just exploding in this vibrant light and crystalline energy that just transforms everything at the end. And I like this concept of transformation. I actually prefer the dragonfly version a little bit more because they actually do it every time they age. So they transform, and that actually brings about the different colors in their hue. So like when you see all the different colors, that's the different ages of the dragonfly. So it's like every
yeah,
single time to create that new color, to create that new vibrancy, they actually have to go through that transformation process. So whereas a butterfly will have a short lifespan and just it's just a one off, the dragonfly continues to do that. And this is very much a representation of life. Like how many times do we go, I thought I was done with that. I thought I'd healed that. Like why does this keep coming back up for me? And honestly, like it's the little hidden truth that we just don't want to admit. Like for whatever reason, you know, I don't want to go back to work, and this is my thing, and my truth is that it crushes me internally. So therefore, I've got to, come into this awareness of like, why is it crushing me? why is that little bit of hope being taken away every single time that, that phone rings, or there's a little alert to say, guess what, you've got a job. It's like, I should be excited. Yay, I'm getting some money. But the flip side of that is the heartache that comes with witnessing the separation of others. And I've definitely been a person that has always celebrated in this success of other people. So especially children, like when a child goes from being, you know, a little bit unconfident, they're a little bit scared, they don't want to do something, and when they get up and they do it, and it's like, yes, I did this, this is fantastic, like, are you proud of me? Like, that is my element. That's where I sit in my glory. And I remember my first year of teaching, I'd only started halfway through the year, and I was sitting there watching the graduation ceremony. I knew maybe two of the kids, not very well. It had only been 6 months, but I cried the entire time. It's like, oh yes, they did it, oh yeah. Because you hear the stories, you hear the stress and the heartache, you hear the troubles that they go through, and then, like, to be at that end, it's like, yes, it happened, that transformation was successful, that little cocoon helped them just that little bit. And even if it's only a little bit, it's enough to harden the shell, it's enough to keep us going. And to witness that decline over the past couple of years, and like watching the kids just like, who cares? Don't even come and watch. Like, I don't, it's just graduation. It's just another day. I'm finally done with this. Like, there is no celebration in that accomplishment. And it's really sad. But the little truth in there is that, that's my hope. That's what I cling to. And, what drives my soul and what got me into teaching in the first place was that I get to celebrate in watching other people flourish. And that job didn't do that. So my little truth in that is, well, how can I succeed if this is what I've chosen for myself in this circumstance when, it's not wanted? What do you do when the learning and the wisdom and the information that you have isn't asked for or isn't accepted? I actually had a conversation this morning where it was talking about theory. Oh, I'm not interested in that. Okay. I am, though. And what do you do in those shadow sides when you're rejected in the things that you're interested in? And I feel that this is the problem with our young people today, is that their interests are so far and varied and so separated from societal norms. Because it is, if we think about it, like the arts and all of that has now pretty much been eradicated from schools. We think of the fun things that kids like to do. Like, I remember in school, and nearly any adult that you speak to, oh yeah, I loved art because it was a blood class, or I liked art because it was this. And it's not that it's a bludge, it's that in the beauty of being creative, you're allowed to stop and be present. And it's that presence that is inviting. It's that present and sitting in the moment of just getting to create. And there is no right and wrong, and there is no judgment. Well, there is judgment against their work, which kind of sucks. But, like when I sit in an art class, and this is why I love art so much, when I get to sit in an art class and just see how, the simple instruction of, okay, we're just going to blend these colors. Let's see what happens when we blend these colors. Take two colors, every single person is going to come up with a different image. The same two colors, every single person in the class, that canvas will look different. Same two colors. Like, how beautiful is that, to witness the variation of just simplicity? There's
Mm,
no real skill needed other than to sit down and try. There's no real right or wrong when it comes to the mixing of the colors, because you keep adding more, you're going to end up with something else. You might end up with a big brown mess, but that brown mess can then have light added onto it, and it can be extended upon. So, like, when we're talking art and these concepts, that's where we get to be still. And in drama, you get to play with character, you get to play with your identity, you get to become who you want to be. Why is this not valid anymore? Why is this not something that is pushed and, thrown throughout the system as a way to learn? Because it's in this play. And we start in
yeah,
early childhood in play-based
yeah,
learning. It's in the play that we actually, even as adults, this is how we heal. We heal
mm,
by somatic movement, which is, literally just shaking and stomping and moving in a childlike manner. there's so many different things that we do as adults that are still considered just play, and that's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a bit heavy on my heart, but that shadow side, it keeps
Yeah.
coming back.
But the light that embodied act of being and playing in presence, I know we value so much. And I know parents do too, like we see it. And it's interesting to see how systems have taken it out of the curriculum because they want to put more focus on this or that. And,
Mm,
you know, that's probably one of the things that broke my heart a couple years ago, where it was like this constant battle. And as
mm,
an art teacher and dance and drama, there was always this like, we're fighting the good fight. We got to fight the good fight, and you can, and we do. And there are amazing teachers and mentors and people that are in this work in the schools that are just a beautiful people
mm,
and are doing amazing work. But then it's like, why do we have to keep fighting the good fight? And I was listening to this podcast on Know Thyself. It's one of my favorite ones.
mm,
And this amazing older gentleman, I don't know his name, but it was about like the war on art. And he was a creative, he was a writer, but he was talking about what you were sharing about, Flea, with the deep presence
mm,
and that creativity. But even in his own journey, like sometimes we get creative blocks or things like that. But to allow that time to just be in the mess, be in the learning
mm.
about mastery and learning about the craft and allowing that time space to do that, then the success and the creativity in anything that you produce, is going to be felt at some point. So he was talking about some amazing quotes like infinity is in love with the uh, creation of time, and to create in time and to have a product that is either a student's work or your life, living your life in artistry as the canvas, as the product of the things you create, but also,
Mm.
allowing yourself, he's like, allow yourself to fall in love with the idea, because ideas are energy, ideas are powerful, and surrender to it.
Yeah.
And in that surrender,
Mm,
either in the presence, or I think about like what we're creating here, the idea of creating an academy, Awæcnian Academy, the platforms, we have this amazing idea that we have taken baby steps, we're clarifying along the way, and
mm,
then have these moments of like amazing growth, and then we also have moments of tension. And like yesterday, Flea and I had a very real conversation where our emotions were coming up, and like, what's the purpose and how do we bring that down? And it's like, I'm letting
mm,
you know you're frustrating me. And then I laughed and I'm like, okay. And we're laughing about it now because we can hold space for each other
mm.
that way and be okay. And these were the tension points that you were talking about, these shadows. And it's okay to be in that with friends, be in that with business partners, be in that with your
Mm,
lovers and your partners and your children, to feel those moments and go, okay, yeah, I see you
mm,
in that. I see you. Okay, cool. Let's just take
mm.
these things. This is what we're going to
Yeah.
do. Oh, I see it in this lens. And there was something that you said in that when I was just like, in my zone of doing whatever it had to come out in the ideas that were coming out. And then it was
Mm.
like, oh, okay, you've clarified this is what I'm actually doing. I'm like, I actually didn't realize that that's what I'm doing. But I had to get it out for then that to come through and to be heard. And it was like,
Yeah.
you know?
And that really is the power of creativity, because it's through this lens of expression that we're able to actually see the differences. Like, we both come from these creative backgrounds. And hello, Fernando, thank you for watching all the way from Brazil. Um, yeah, when we're looking at, communication, this is probably one of the biggest factors, and it falls into the arts category. When we talk about language, when we talk about expression of any sort, like, so much of what we do is incorrect And I actually had a conversation earlier about being on the spectrum and how, the variation of truth is actually witnessed. And this comes down to the fact that they can actually see those micro fragment movements within our face and our expression that actually show the lies that we are speaking. And when we think of somebody on the spectrum that's having a meltdown or a breakdown, that's because they're saying they're actually telling you in their inadvert language that you are lying to me. Your face and your expression do not match. Like, that does not make sense. And when we think about how many times in a day that we do meet somebody that maybe not in character to our style, or not somebody that we vibrate with personally, we do tend to put on a show. As human beings, we go, okay, I have to be polite. Polite is a mask. Polite hides the fact that you actually don't particularly like the person that you're talking to, and that there is that lie within our truth. It's like, okay, yeah, society said, let's be polite. So I'm going to be polite to you, but I'm blatantly going to lie to your face. And for someone that is on the spectrum, they can see that. They can see that, oh, hi, yeah, I'm really nice to meet you. And that little scrunching of the nose actually is the first indicator that there is a mistruth. The minute the nose scrunches up in, like, you can see it. It's like the whole face pulls back. I don't like looking at the screen, but yeah, it's like, wow, okay, I noticed that. And as a person that is extremely expressive, I've actually been picked up on this my whole life. It's like people are like, oh, you didn't like that. And it's like, how do you know? And it's like, what do you mean? It's like, oh, it's written all over your face. So I'm not a person that can hide it. So I probably create more confusion because I'm quite blunt with my facial expressions. So even if I don't like something, I won't be polite and lie about it. I don't like the lie, but it will be clear. You cannot hide the minute reactions within your body. Like, this is our energy coming out to play without us being
Yeah.
aware of it.
And when we think of our children, like who are very good at reading people um,
Mm,
naturally, and also noticing that in their development, a lot of their wants, needs, desires is very egocentric too. So it's interesting to kind of work with children and teens from a different age to look at this development, and also our
mm,
background in understanding education and psychology, and the pieces of those interactions that Flea was talking about, like even the scratch on the nose or doing this, or you know even in your voice in questioning that, but being able to work with young people and see these developmental phases is really fascinating. Like I had a boy yesterday in a class I was teaching who again was on on the spectrum, but it took things very literally, and it was
yes.
like I had to have a few teachers like remind me of a few things because I was a relief teacher, and he's like, he will take things literally. If you respond back to him, he will keep responding back, and it will appear like that he's battling you. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll just say my piece, do this, and then I'll keep going. And it was interesting to like watch this class. They were year four,
Mm,
you know, um, and the behaviors in different teachers and them coming in and out of different things, and just like how their bodies were reacting to the content. And even like being a relief teacher, it's like what am I doing? Where is this information? Oh, this is a brand new thing. We're doing reading. They're in new groups. I don't know what we're doing. And it was like
mm,
the kids can pick up on that. And then there were other people in the room. I'm like, I
mm,
honestly don't know what I'm doing because I this is new and it's here, and then they go wild, right? Because they can tell the
yeah.
energy, and I'm like, I'm just going with the flow because it's not clear to me. I'm not usually in this classroom. There are kids with high needs in here, um, but we got to the things anyway. But yeah, I have found it fascinating to look at different classroom settings, looking at behavior, looking at situation. Um, it's not something I want to keep doing, and as you were saying before earlier, Flea, like
Mm,
these things that we are noticing the resistance, when we think about what we're aligned to do at
mm,
the moment, doing relief work, is helping my family bring in things while we're building, and income is coming in, and we've taken the baby steps, and this is the growth. Like, we've set really great
Mm.
foundations, and now we're seeing the rewards coming through in what we're creating, the people that are coming in that are aligned to working with us in our summits, in podcasts, in programs that we're about to launch. Like, it's beautiful to see that growth, but it's also in this metamorphosis phase,
Mm.
noticing that I actually don't want to be on the oval in the middle of the sun, coming in and out of air conditioning, and these beautiful kids are doing this. Like, we put our kids in these environments, and year 4 class, I came back out of air conditioning because I went to another class because I didn't want to go on the oval, and the sport teacher was fine, and I went and joined another year 3 class. But this group of what's that? What's
Mm.
grade 4? Like 9-year-olds, 8, 9-year-olds.
Yep.
They were so
Yeah,
red.
9, 10.
9, 10-year-olds. Their faces were so red. They were running. This was in the
Mm.
middle of the day. Their whole bodies and their nervous system, they were physically
Mm.
heightened, and you could see the redness on their face. And it was like we were meant to do
But
math
learning's
tests.
meant to occur after that.
And I'm like, we are not learning. And luckily, the other beautiful teacher that came in, she's
Mm.
like, let's have some quiet time. I'm like, that's exactly what I was going to do. They need to actually de escalate physically their bodies. Like, some of those kids drenched themselves in water. Their like faces were red like hot tomatoes. And I'm like, wow, we're not going to do any learning. Let's just lie down. I put some meditation. Let's just breathe and just have some stillness to actually get the body to physically regulate back down. Because we know that when we're
Yeah.
hot and heightened in our emotions, let alone our physical body, nothing's going to like be absorbed. And half of them were tired. Oh my gosh. It
But
was
these are
just,
the schedules, isn't it, that are absolutely baffling. It's like prime learning time happens when the mind is engaged, when it's something of interest, when it's fun and exciting and different, and when they know that there is very little to no risk of failure. Because societally, we, we get rejected. And in this particular age phase, so between grade 3 and grade 6, before they go into high school, this is where they are egocentric, where they are in their self perception of, okay, now I need to fit into a bigger world that's not just my family. Because before they turn 8, it's all about the family, my family's reality, and that literalness that comes from it. Oh, my dad said, my mum said. Well, once they hit grade 8 is when the brain actually clicks on that the family situation isn't the same in every single family. And that's where
yeah,
they start to go, oh, what lies do I need to tell my friends here to still be able to fit into this group? And that could be, oh, my dad, I know I used to say this one all the time. Oh, my dad's a businessman. He goes away. He goes away on long trips quite a fair bit. And, reality was that he was actually in prison. But, this was something that I knew that my friends that came from middle class society, they had mum and dad at home, both were working, or mum was at home, or whatever, they would not have understood. And I knew that every single school I went to, I had to judge it based on the friend groups that I made. And for me, this was actually like the greatest awareness, because I've grown up with this knowledge that we actually have to change and put on a coat of armor when we go into the real world, that we actually have to perceive and create an identity that's going to fit. And this is what I believe to be the biggest problem in the world today, is that we have spent so long in our role, in our armor, in our costume, that the real version of us is hidden. And it's creating this toxic cycle of depression and anxiety that just means that we don't get to be who we are. We don't get to live in our truth. And that is our biggest shadow, is that to fit in, I have to become somebody else. To be accepted by my partner, I have to behave this way. To be accepted by my friends, I have to behave this way. To be accepted in the workplace, I have to dress and do and be all of these things. which ultimately is us because we're choosing them. We're choosing to go into these environments, but it's the awareness that comes with that. It's like, okay, when I am a teacher, I do need to dress a certain way. Why? It is responsible, it's practical. Like there's a lot of reasons behind some of the rules that we have to abide by. It's the awareness that that is not you. And I know that this separation is something that I've experienced quite um, to a very extreme degree. So becoming the teacher and the changing my physical identity to fit in with being appropriately covered, being responsible. You know, once again, you said you were out on a playground, but we have to dress in corporate wear, out in the hot sun with, you know, like heels and dress shoes, like depending on the school. That is not appropriate wear, but it is what is perceived as socially acceptable for a teacher, and this is your corporate attire, but it doesn't fit with the job. So when we're sitting there and we're in this conflict of self, I'm uncomfortable, I'm hot, I'm overworked. How am I meant to be performing at my best in those standards? How am I actually showing the kids that I am 100% authentic when I'm in layers and layers of clothes that make me feel uncomfortable, that I'm sitting there doing all of these things all day? And these are this is the reception that they're picking up. She doesn't want to be there. She's uncomfortable. She, you know, is inauthentic. We cannot teach and learn in those standards, because I know as an adult, if I was to sit down in a conference with someone that was uncomfortable, false, pretending to be something that they're not, you're going to pick up on it and you're going to go, oh, yeah, we don't resonate, see you later. But as an adult, we have that understanding. As a child, they're just like, oh, I'm forced to go to school. I didn't get to pick my teacher. My teacher's absolutely awful to me and doesn't agree with me. So, you know, when we're having these conflicts, we actually have to stop and go, okay, well, ask the child. And as a parent, I always said, if you don't like your teacher, let me know in the very beginning so that we can change class, because the detriment to your education of being around somebody's energy that is not suited to you, long. And it is the problems that we are facing with the beautiful children in society, all of the crime and all of these things. They don't know how to exist in this reality.
Mm.
We have not created a safe place for them to be children, to explore, to express, to be creative. Like, what else can you do if you can't go and play? You go and you mix where you can. And you mix with older people that have cars, that have options that are available to entertain. And
Yeah,
it's very sad.
it is. And how do we
Mm,
shift that? Like, this is, I suppose, what we're noticing. The awareness is the next step. But then, how do we learn to take that awareness and then take the steps to change our circumstances or mindset? It's a combination of different things. And I know Flea and I have such a wealth of life experience and expertise and just really groundedness. And this is why we created our course, our Awæcnian
mm,
awareness pillars, because we know what these developmental stages are like in the industries that we've been in and also our own lives. And it's like when we
mm,
start becoming aware and we start shifting, it's that beautiful. There's many beautiful sayings, actually. It's like your network is your net worth, and some people may cringe at that. But I actually like it
mm.
because your network of people who you surround yourself with, like
Yeah.
I love having amazing people that are doing great things in the world, in their worlds or bigger. It doesn't matter. Like,
Mm,
they're just passionate, they're authentic, they have big hearts. And noticing the people around me, whether it's friends or family, or even putting myself out there in other groups
mm,
to connect with amazing people around the world, it's been amazing to build those relationships. And like you said, Flea, that relationship with the teacher in the classroom, Hattie, a psychologist that a lot of teachers look at, Hattie
mm.
says that teacher relationship is like the one of the number one impact effects on the
Yeah.
child's learning. So how are we as leaders in education and different institutions fostering authentic and professional, but also these real relationships for the teachers and the facilitators and the mentors and the coaches and whatever industries, and really coming down into that really grounded place. So, like, we are relational beings, and in being relational, it's mind, body, spirit, and some parts are missing in other places.
Mm.
So I've been blessed to be in contemporary Catholic settings of schooling, which, even though it had the lens of Christianity and Catholicism in there, there's been so much beautiful metaphors in there, so much learning and community, like you were saying, Flea, connection, connecting to, at a young age, looking at, well, what is this world we're in? What is nature? Is that God's creation? And this may trigger people, but that's spirit working. These are just different words of understanding. And it's like, well, let's look at the bigger picture. And our children have this sense of awe, and
Yeah.
wonder. How beautiful is that butterfly that just flew past, or the dragonfly that we were talking about? I didn't know the dragonflies kept doing that cycle, and like I was like, wow, that's something new for me today. And this sense of awe and wonder, that's presence, that's
Mm.
creativity, that relationship that we're talking about. And I know Flea will add more to this. I'm going to get my charger because I'm about to die. But that awe and wonder, how do we bring that back, Flea? How do we invite more of that in as
Oh,
adults?
yeah. Um, Awe and wonder as adults. This is a different situation. I'd actually like to take it back to childhood to start with, because I really do believe that this is where our issues start. And I know I had a personal story of my eldest, who, the minute she went into grade 3, she was placed in a classroom with a teacher that was a little bit more aggressive. She was she actually had the beautiful name that went with it, Mrs. Rowbotham. So, we used to make fun of that when she'd come home, because I had to try and create a like for her to go back to school, because this teacher, for whatever reason, it could have just been, a moment of being shy, and, she didn't speak up and she didn't read, but she completed year 2 perfectly. Like, she was at normal level, passing, like, no issues, no problems. And then she went into grade 3, and all of a sudden, I can't read, mum. It's like, what do you mean you can't read? You've been reading for the last 2 years. Of course you can read. No, my teacher said I can't read. That one statement put her back 3 years, because after that, she didn't want to try. She didn't, she believed that there was something wrong with her, and that judgment, and especially judgment in front of her peers, that judgment then meant that she was not the same. And that is that right at that prime time. And for the teacher, I can definitely speak into that. Year 3 is where NAPLAN comes in, so they need to be eloquent, they need to be able to speak, they have a reading, writing, and spelling comprehension test, as well as mathematics. So NAPLAN is a huge thing for grade 3. So right when their identity is at peak, they're forced into standardized testing. And our teaching habits have to conform to that, because it's in the first part of the year. It comes up quickly. It is a results driven based test that goes on the school's ranking, so there's a huge concept around this particular test that, in this phase of development, they're also exposed to. So this idea that, we're taking people based on their age, taking children based on their age, and teaching them in standardized tests that aren't suitable, is probably the first step. Once we separate education from being a standardized, conformed integration of society, which it is, we talk about inclusion, but the lesson diversity is really, I've got a PowerPoint, I've got a written side, I've got a different font, I've got a different act. Like, this is not inclusive education. This is just a lot more work. This means that teacher is then separated from the relationship that you spoke about, and is not building those bonds that actually makes learning engaging. This is the problem we have. So for any learning situation, there is an achievement task. We take that achievement task, and I'm going to use language because this is my specialty. The main feature from grade 7 to grade 12 is identifying how language is used for various purposes. Right now, we're on a podcast. We're using language visually with our hands. We're usually using language with our voice and our words and our expression. We're also using tone. So there's 3 to 4 different methods that I'm using just in this podcast. How many other ways could I change it? I can print it, so I can have a dialogue log that's in a Word document. There are thousands of different ways it can be used. But we can form it and we say, okay, we're going to learn about language. Here is this book, Marie. We're going to look at Awæcnian, and whether you're interested in it or not, you're going to give me an essay on this book about how language was used. Yeah, sorry, I'm not going to read the book because it's boring. It's got no interest. It's not my cup of tea. There's half your class gone. So we talk about authentic learning and inclusion. That can't happen in that style. What you can say is, okay, I want you to go and find a text. What is a text? So we have a class on text. We look at, okay, it can be movies, it can be magazines, it can be cartoons, comic strips, like pretty much anything that has a verbal expression or idea attached to it. Picture books are a text. A diary, our phone, our messages, anything the child can pick from. That then means that they're included, their interests, their basis. And how amazing would it be if you've got a speech presentation at the end of your class where they each share their different ideas from their different books that they picked? How much more learning are they getting rather than everybody spouting the same thing from the same book? Oh, I didn't know that. I'm actually now interested in cars. I didn't know that. Now I'm interested in bikes. I didn't know. And this is where the arts come into play, and why it is so valid and so important is because when we're in that creativity of what else could it be, then we have just reached expansion. Then we have reached this capacity of, wow, what else could I do with this? Where else can I take it? Okay, advertising. Macca's wants me to buy French fries because they're using red and yellow, which are bold colors. How else can I use red and yellow to, use it in my entrepreneurial business as a 15, 20-year-old? Like, these are the things that they can do when we leave it open to learning. And for adults, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, well, what are you interested in? And this goes to your ikigai, which you had in your beautiful course, Marie, that looking at what we love in relation to, what we do and how we can do it. So being able to take our passion, our interest, and for me, it is teaching. And that's the sad part. I actually love my job. I love being with the kids. I love being in the classroom. I love interacting, especially when that conversation is flowing. And, you get to see the different ideas coming into play and what can unfold, like how beautiful and amazing it is when we collaborate. And this
Yeah.
is the creative connection that we talk about in our academy, like Awæcnian Academy of Creative Connections. So connecting expressively in so many different ways in that creative connection. Like,
Yeah.
I've learned so much from you. You learned so much from me. Like, when we do these things, we're just expanding. We're sharing our knowledge, and through this awareness, and that's our first pillar, looking at how we can be aware, how we can identify our shadows, because technically that's the limitation in our day to day anyway. When I go into the school, my shadow is the societal standards that are making me conform to a way I know does not work. Is it a shadow? No, but it is because I have to conform to it. It is because when I go into that workplace, I have to put on that role and I have to go against myself and my inner truth. And that there is that first pillar, the first thing that we all need to do, adults, children, because we don't want our children having to go through psychological things by the time they're 20. They should be so aware of themselves by the time they hit adulthood that their direction is nothing but mastery. And imagine a world if every single child knows exactly what they're here to do, that they have the support of community, that they have the support of their peers, that it's a global education where all we can do is expand because we're in connection with like-minded souls. And that's not to say we're going to have not come across people we don't like, but it's a way that we can actually work together with the people that we don't particularly resonate with and build this understanding of how we actually work together, because there are parts of life that we don't want to experience. There are parts of
Yes.
life that we don't want, work that we don't want to do. I hate computers. I really do. So what do? I set up a website and I'm working on a computer every day. This is where the connection comes in, because with the academy building, we need people that are going to come in and love what they do. And this is
Yes.
why we want to affiliate with so many people, is that we want to be able to say, okay, I have this beautiful child. He lives in Brazil, and I'm going to use that. Thank you, Fernando, because you're over there. Lives in Brazil, but there are no teachers that are suitable for him. There's nobody that, you know, that does abstract expressionism or, like just random paintings. There's nobody that does on your background there, that beautiful nature art. So, how else do we find those teachers for our kids so that they can go into their passion? Is by having a network and having a singular place like Awæcnian Academy, where you can click a link and go, okay, the affiliates, here are our teachers, here are our coaches, here are our specialists. And, that's it. That's how we connect. That's how we get the help that we need. Because I know for myself, and I've just been going on a big rant here, when I go to a doctor, I have not found that connection. I've not found a connection with somebody that hears me and hears my needs. So therefore, that is never resolved. Every single time I go to a medical professional, I'm just sitting there going, they're not listening. They don't hear my problems. They don't hear my concern. That problem doesn't get healed. I continue on to the next doctor and the next doctor and the next doctor. Whereas having a location where you can say, these are the doctors available. This is how I specialize. This is how I work. Oh, now I've found my doctor. Now I've found my teacher. Now I've found my coach. Now I've found my business mentor. Now I've found, you know, anything that we need to learn and to grow in our passion.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I'll let you have a voice now, because I've just, oh,
There's so many things in there, but just what you recently said, like we can find these amazing people, but in the end, the goal is, well, I feel it's like not to have to rely on them because we're balancing ourselves and we just get to have these network of people, that are professionals in medicine. And I see I see our Western medicine and Eastern medicine blending more, coming back to the holistic, nature pieces. Like imagine a world, and I'm veering off a little bit because I'm just thinking about the medical pieces that you just shared there. Was like, imagine if something happened to the world and we couldn't access the pills, the pain medicine, all those things. What would we do? How would we go back to helping people with pain? What is it that we're learning about our environment, about nurturing our bodies, about health, about sustaining longevity that we've learnt from past cultures that can be passed down? Because a lot of that knowledge has been lost. And like you said, like our identity is being lost from an early age. I love that saying, imagine our kids who knew who they were and knew their purpose and their mission as they're still developing and growing and just had that solid foundation of self. And imagine the leaders they're going to be that are going to guide the world. And like that question of awe and wonder, you kind of, explained it in your example of being open to expansion, being open to trying new ideas. And as adults, when you do something new, you are rewiring and firing new synapses in the brain. When you actually put yourself in a new situation and it's not the same patterns of the old, you are actually stretching your neuroplasticity and you're actually being able to expand your risk taking measures and your resilience and your cognitive resilience. There is so much happening in your brain. There's so much brain science behind it. But then also in your heart, you feel this feeling that maybe in that discomfort, you're noticing. And when you notice that resistance in your heart, in your
mm,
body, allow yourself a moment to take a deeper breath to go, well, is this the old patterns that I'm now feeling? Is it fear? And can I push through that
mm,
resistance to see what's on the other side? And sometimes
mm,
our body, sometimes in this spiritual world, we feel the resistance and go, oh, that's not aligned to me. I feel resistance. And I see that a lot. And what if that resistance is there for you to keep feeling because you're actually not pushing through that
mm,
boundary to then see what's on the other side? And sometimes, we think about when people say, oh, I feel broken, I'm snapping, I'm burning it all down. But we know that's where, unfortunately, it feels gross and yucky and horrible, but that's what the growth is. That's what the growth
yes.
is. And I hear a lot of amazing business people talking about these cycles in business and evolution and
Mm,
growth in that side, where it's like, yeah, things need to crumble. You need to let it crumble and let it collapse so then we rebuild. And it's like our cells constantly collapsing, rebuilding, and relationships and growth, and it's this process going back to that cycle you were saying Flea, earlier, the evolutionary process of growth, and being okay with the expansion contraction, being okay to feel it in the
mm,
mushiness chrysalis and then the wings expanding, and that openness and exploration that you were sharing in your own examples, and your love of language, knowing what your passions are. Go back to your childhood. If we think as
mm,
adults, we're like, I don't know, I feel lost, I don't know. I know we both felt that. There was a time like 2, 3 years ago, like, I don't even know if I want to be a teacher anymore. You know,
yeah.
even doing work, I know that that's not my long term goal anymore because my purpose is elsewhere, but there is still learning in there, and I'm still open to the learnings and growth in the moment and the relationship building and the
Mm,
lessons and the reflections. And I had a beautiful friend of mine, past teacher I worked with, who drove up in the car park yesterday, and she's like, "Hey!" And then I like followed her and had a chat while she was picking up her daughter. I'm like, "How you going?" And she's like, because she's also a teacher, and she's like, "I hate it. I hate it." And when you were saying that she said she hated it, but she had a smile on her face. And she's like, "I
yeah.
hate this, but I'm still doing it because I don't know any other way, or it's safe, or
Mm,
it's I've got my family to think about." And in that safety, this is where I think society, it's again the polarity. We pulled the polarity card,
mm,
and I feel safety is important, but then there's also safety can hold us back, right? You got to feel safe in your body, in your home, and
mm,
in your values and your pillars within yourself, to then create safe spaces. And those safe spaces can change, whether it's your home or the people you surround yourself with or
mm,
environments. So creating safety is important, but also the polarity of that is we think we're safe with the financial pieces that are in a system that are actually locking us in, that are keeping us chained. And so it's noticing those systems of safety versus
mm,
safe. And these are the word
mm.
pieces. I'm just going to let that land because Flea and I were talking about language. She is the language expert. What was that card that you pulled?
It was actually obstacles and challenges. So five
Mm,
being change that you were just talking about, and that's why I love it. So whether or not it's an obstacle, so something that I just need to move the tree out of the way and then I can continue driving, or is it actually a challenge that you actually need to shift and change the directory in which you're going? So like these pathways, these obstacles that we know, like, oh, I hate it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah, we know we do this every day. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this. It's so yucky. But also knowing that the flip side of that is, yes, we are stuck in it because this is who we are deep down. Like we do nurture the young. We do see the ways in which to teach, and we do have the knowledge and the capacity to teach, which is a skill set in itself. So being able to see the difference, and as you were talking about that, like the hardness in the change, it's in that hardness, it's in that chrysalis, in the goo, that you actually get to form, I guess, the shell or the armor of how you're going to reflect. And sometimes that shell might be a little bit, um, multicolored, a little bit fragmented. It may not be completely who you are because our understanding is still growing, but it's that changing from a challenge into that obstacle. I'd say, oh, it's just a
Yeah.
small bit. I do want to teach. How do I teach in a different way? Well, I just create my own school. Simple. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. So this is what we do.
Yeah.
We have education available for homeschool programs online, and ready to expand with the children that are ready to learn, because it's in that readiness that that chrysalis just opening, that new foundation of this beautiful dragonfly or butterfly, that, oh, now what do I get to do? Because I've just shifted my mindset. I've just come away from that challenge. I'm no longer stuck in this mindset of I can't do, I'm not special, I'm not important. I am part of this bigger puzzle of earth and world and humanity. So as this puzzle unfolds and comes together and is actually laying perfectly flat, is where we get to go, oh, now I'm going to make it three-dimensional. Now I'm going to expand. I'm going to throw it up into the world and see how far I can take it, because it's in that knowing of self and the mastery. And I go back to fashion with this because I love the way that traditionally clothes were made. They were made for the person. They were made with care. They were made with attention. They were made by hand, and they were made to last. And it's that combination of love, care, skill, and dedication that actually makes the quality product. And the
Mm.
separation that most people are having today is actually the fact that if you're creating products, they're not quality. They're usually throw away something to, so therefore there is no value in them, because that people aren't going to keep them. We think about keepsakes from wedding. Like, why do we get, the platter and the vase and all of these things at a wedding? Well, that's the keepsake of the memory of the moment and the passion that was dedicated to you on that special day. And it's the same when we think of this concept of learning. It's like, well, that's the dedication, the passion, the skill that your body, your soul is igniting within you to go higher. And it's
Mm.
when we're in that gratitude of self, when we're in that love of self, and we're doing what we love with that dedication, skill, and, clarity, that person cannot demonstrate hate, because how could they? They're in their joy. They can't have that dissonance of, oh, I love my job, but I don't love my job. I've just got the wrong kids in my class, because, technically that is probably the biggest issue. The wrong group of kids with the wrong teacher. And we talk about streaming in such a negative way of, oh, we're going to group them into age groups and interest. Interest would be a good one. Yes, stream based on interest. We've got a whole bunch of kids that are very athletic. They're more than likely going to go down the sports theory. Put them with a teacher that knows sport, that loves sport, because every analogy that they're going to be using is going to be one, it's going to make sense to them, but it's also going to engage more within them too. Oh, this teacher actually loves that. You come into my class and I start talking about art and fashion. Guess what? You have a fabulous time. Even kids that didn't actually want to be in my class had a fabulous time, because I loved it. And I know that when I taught history or geography, something that I didn't know as well, I was scared. I was scared to give the wrong information, to pronounce the words incorrectly, to not really have a background as to why it was important. So therefore, those classes never ever went well. I had a group of kids, some were interested, some weren't. So the ones that were interested drove my interest. But what do you do with those ones that aren't? Why do they need to retain that information that is of no valor for them? It's just like storing data into our computers and making it lag. Oh yeah, here we go. We're just going to add another file on history in there. We're going to add another file over here, and before we know it, we're just watching the circle of death go round and round, going, now what do I do? I've got all of this information that makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
That's how I sit and think when I look at the computer screen, and that's our brains. They do have the capacity to be filled beyond measure, but
Mm.
only if it's valid, only if it's
Yeah.
worthy for us in our life and in our path.
And to learn new skills, that passion that you said, like if I had a really great maths teacher in year 10 and he would sing to us and he made maths fun, and like that's not my strongest point, But I actually liked being in his class because he was singing to us different things to help us remember. He put his guitar in, and when you have a teacher that's passionate, or a mentor or a parent that's passionate about something, to then engage in new learning, new ideas to expand our young people, to invite new ways of thinking.
Mm,
It's really important to feel that authenticity, to feel that engagement, that life experience, that passion from a variety of people. And so, even though we've been talking about young people and teens, on the other spectrum of what we're doing at Awaken Academy is inviting the leaders, the mentors, the coaches, the facilitators, whatever you want to call it, the leaders in their
teachers,
field.
it's all words.
Yeah, yeah. But like leaders in your fields, like we are here for the leaders
Mm,
as well. Because when you're passionate about money mastery, or you're passionate about intuition, if you're passionate about creativity and marketing, or actually writing a novel, or painting, or dancing, whatever
the
it
heart,
is.
Fernando, beautiful.
Yeah,
Mm,
heart, breath, the body, no matter what your passion is, that you are a master in, that you're loving to share with the world, this is how we lead. This is how we change paradigms of teaching and learning and embodiment. And this is what we do at Awaken Academy. Yes, we can invite different words in because people will resonate at different things, but it's also the frequency of your heart. Like, Lee's got her magic
mm,
and her frequency and her energy. I have my own that's unique to me. And when we allow that presence of our uniqueness and bring it
mm,
together into unity, oh my goodness, the magic unfolded is to the nth degree. It's not doubled, it's not tripled, it is
mm.
multiplied beyond measure and amplified to the nth degree. And when you have more
And
and more and more, yeah, it's
that was
amazing.
that clarity that you were talking about yesterday. It's like, oh yeah, I was just saying all of this stuff, and it's like, yeah, all it takes is that connection of somebody that understands to go, now this is the language switch. This is the thing. And in any relationship, and I've watched a lot on relational dissonance in the last couple of weeks, in every relationship, it is the way in which we communicate that's being misunderstood. And having this full awareness of yourself actually allows those different conversations. And this is the beauty of our partnership, is that we created an understanding very early on that no matter how hurtful the truth is, it's better to be said and worked through than to be left as something that's just festering in the background. And that ability to have that honesty, to be allowed to say, look, Marie, I'm frustrated at you. Sorry, you're off with the fairies and you've got all this work for me to do and I need to do it. So, that was a reality for me. And the flip side of that was, this big idea that just needed clarity. And that's all it was, this misconception, this frustration that was within me, was within yourself, this delay in moving forward, is just that misconception of clarity. Okay, now we can be fully open with, okay, I'm going to be mean and nasty, I'm going to say the things that may not be exactly what I mean, but we get it out there so then the other person can sit back without the triggers. And this is the beautiful shadow side, without those triggers going, oh, she's attacking me, she doesn't love me, she's going to leave me, and blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. And you put it to the side and go, okay, well, what is the actual problem? The actual problem was that we needed clarity. Really, really simple, like nothing to be offended by, nothing to be insulted at. Oh yeah. And being able to work through that process in such an honest way, like we've been able to do it with so many different things, creating like finances, who to partner with, when meetings are, like everything. And this is just a business relationship. Imagine that with your children and with your partners, and being able to go, actually, I'm having a really crap day. Can you just sit down and listen to me, and maybe we can work out why? How beautiful.
And yeah, and that's how I embody, yeah, that's how I embody my relationships. And even noticing, with my beautiful husband, the clarity and the change and the shift, particularly in the last, 4 to 5 months, in now also owning that, okay, his business is my business too. How do I help him in that? This is our life, this is our family. How do we communicate better? That's like, still us, but also honoring this and honoring that this is his ideas, but also honoring that if you're going to work with me, these are my ideas of how to help you. And it's like navigating those sometimes intense situations. I will always end with a smile on my face. And in the past, me, I would have been crying in the corner, going, no, 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 no. But like these
Mm.
trigger pieces that you
I'm sorry. I'm
mentioned,
sorry.
yeah, and I'm like, no, that's not me. This is not. We are not the emotion, and we are not the behavior. And so that's like how we treat our children
That's
and
right.
how we treat our family. It's okay to feel these things, and it's okay to feel the discomfort in the, oh, they're
Mm.
actually like, it's not at me right now, or it's not really at me, it's at the situation. But it's like being able to go through these micro
Yep.
conversations. And Flea and I created a beautiful masterclass, about triggers. Trigger happy no more. Like, notice your triggers, notice how you can step into
Mm.
the breath. And if you want a copy of that, join our tribe. Come and subscribe to us because you get instant access to that beautiful masterclass where we share stories and insights and practical tips. And the practical tips are really simple. Coming back to your breath and body, being open to trying something new that we've shared today, actually noticing your communication with your listening, with your people around you,
Mm.
meet new people. Like, and it's the simple things of also, we talk about journaling a lot, noticing the words you're using, noticing your thoughts and your feelings, writing it down. What do you want in your life? What clarity do you want?
Mm.
I've spoken, I know we're like almost at the end of the time, but this morning I have written down 2 years ago that I wanted to make 80K months. And Flea and I have spoken about we're going to make our first million this year. And I'm saying it publicly because when we say it, you own it. And in this space this morning, a beautiful
It's
lady
real.
was like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And she was like, I'm being scared to say this, but I'm going to make my first million. And then I was like, celebrating you. And then I said it in the group because I hadn't said it to these ladies. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to do it. I've said it to Sean, I've said it to Lee, and it's like, I don't know how we're going to do it, but you wait and see, and you'll see us document it and bring all these amazing
It'll
people,
unfold.
and it will unfold. So it is.
I love that
About
so much.
polarity. Oh my
Oh,
goodness, the polarities, polarities, polarities. Talking about the shadows, talking about the light, and all the in between. This is what
it
we love to do
is.
here. Hey,
Mm.
any any
And it was
final
the
card
play too.
pulls?
So that trigger happy no more. That
That's
trigger
play.
happy no more
Yeah.
is all about play. So having fun with it. And if a particular word keeps coming up, like I feel sad, I feel anxious, actually look it up. What does that word mean? Is that actually what you are feeling? Because the
Mm,
human experience is our emotional capacity. If you take your emotions away, we don't actually experience anything. You take a feeling or a concept, an emotional connection, you have no way to actually make the narrative. So our emotions are our human capability. This is our human experience. And understanding our emotions, and I guess this leads back into the what we teach and why, this is emotional intelligence.
yes.
Being
Yes.
aware of yourself and understanding your emotions means that you are aware of yourself as a human being, as an energetic form, because emotions are energy and movement. It's what gets stuck in our body as disease. It's what creates that ick in the throat when we're upset. It's that lump that's just sitting there going, oh, I'm sad and I'm distressed and I need it out. Why does it get stuck there? When we're so upset and we're hiding back the tears and we're,
Yeah.
like trying to contain it all, it gets stuck. And it's getting stuck because that needs to come out. The tears need to flow. The wailing needs to flow.
Yeah.
It needs to get out.
Sitting,
The
but
stuck
in safe
feeling,
ways. Yeah.
if you hold on to it, it gets pushed back to your heart. It gets pushed back, and
Mm,
that heaviness on your heart that so many people are experiencing, this is that emotional intelligence. And we had a beautiful viewer today, Fernando. Go follow him. He works with shaman type methods, beautiful drumming meditations, as well as heart coherence. Also one of our beautiful speakers on the Seeking Soul Summit in April. I hope it's April.
Yes.
No, May,
24th to
April.
the
I don't know,
27th.
too many things on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
24th
that's
to the
beautiful.
27th
And
of
beautiful
April.
Mary as well. Hi, Mary. All around the world, we've got these beautiful professionals that have taken their knowledge and their wisdom, and they've merged it with traditional practices that, as you were talking about the medical side, and one day we may need to go back to herbal remedies because the pharmaceutical industry is no longer available. This is a potential reality. But also, I know from experience that sometimes those medical supplements that we get from a pharmacy don't work. The amount of creams and stuff I put on my skin, that the natural stuff has worked better. And this is the learning, this is the wisdom that is generally passed on and used to be passed on in communities and groups. It was something that women came together to, and men for that matter, in their male rites of passage and their traditions. We go back to Norse times with beautiful Adam, that was one of our speakers as well, and how those traditions are still valid today. And it's when we look back at our heritage and our history as what it is, it's a beautiful narrative of how we can move forward. It's the experiences of millions and millions of people that are being documented over the time in different ways, and even our creative entertainment. This is people's imaginations. This is what's within their mind. This is what is within possibility and potential. Every single movie that is made has the potential to become reality because it is somebody's imagination and possibility. So
Yeah.
when we're looking at all of these different methods and bringing them together, there is no one way. There's a multitude of ways that emerge together, and it is when we are fully in sync with ourselves, in togetherness with ourselves, when we can sit there and go, okay, I am responsible for me. This is my energetic form. You cannot do anything to my energetic form without my permission. I am solely responsible. I am 100% in control of my destiny and my reality because I get to sit with my energy and understand all that is me and how
Mm.
that interacts with other people. And I would definitely love to run a masterclass if anybody is interested in going through some of the scientific theories of relativity that have come into my vortex in a very different way. Not as scientific as most people, but the creative elemental part of design and symbols is part of my passion.
Oh, that's
So
so
that is something
exciting.
of
Do it.
interest
Oh,
to.
I think that would be amazing because, Flea has this beautiful gift. And I'm like, I don't understand that, but it feels good when I see it. I think you should. We're going to do it. Let us know if you want to join in on a master
I
class.
mentioned it online, so guess what? It's happening.
No, it's happening. It's happening. We'll get it up and running. So we'll share some more of that. We'll find a date with all the amazing things we're doing. But thank you, Flea, for sharing. Are there any
Leave a
other
heart in the
final
link.
comments? Yes, we will. There, leave a heart,
Leave a heart
please.
in the link, so that way we can make sure that you get the direct link. That's the best way to do
Yes,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
But we'll share that for sure. We're going to do a webinar, and I'm excited to learn from that. What's the final card, or what cards did you pull there,
The
Flea?
final
As we're
cards was two major arcana, so the Triumph and the Destiny card. Obviously,
Ooh.
like once we tap into that shadow side that we started this with, once we are aware of the obstacles and challenges, all we can do is recognize the reward and the gift that is within us, our energy, our source, our heart. I love that. And the fact that Fernando's on here with his heart coherence, that just brought it all up. Beautiful. You can see like even the green within the Destiny card and that beautiful purple that's coming through. Like, let's just ride into it, guys. Like, who wants something else? I want to live in a new
Yeah.
world. I am not going into 2025 with this current reality, this current mindset of limitation. Let's create what we want because we are the people. And we do have the
Yeah.
power now. We have these platforms, we have these modes to transform, to connect. So if you're feeling that you just need some assistance in a business and you want a web page that you can be part of that are connected with, Come and talk to us about how we can affiliate, how we
Yeah.
can work together, how we can build this expansive prospect for our children, for the next generation, so we are not living in trauma anymore.
Mm.
Let's live.
Let's live. Let's live. Let's be the bridge makers, the way showers, and let's come together. So connect with us. There were so many amazing things, and we've come and join our tribe. Subscribe. You get our free masterclass there. Flea's going to run another amazing masterclass. I can't wait because that's the first I've heard. I'm like, yes, she's claiming her gifts, and we're gonna see it. And I'm so excited. Take away the mask that you were talking about. Whew. Because she's got powerful
Yes.
information and codes and symbology. It's gonna be epic. So I'm so excited we get to share it here. Come and join us as a speaker. We've got amazing programs. I'm like let's show us everything that we're able to do because we can do it. And you're gonna come and join us and help us, and it's gonna be beautiful. So yeah, that was a beautiful morning of polarities and things and all of the amazing pieces. So thanks, Flea, for joining us with your amazing energy. And for those listening now on the
Thank you.
replay, #replay, send us some DMs and we will see you
Leave a
soon.
heart.
Bye, everybody.
Love.